Scottie Barnes and Gary Trent Jr. were benched in the Raptors' most recent game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Scottie had some interesting comments post-game in regards to not starting. So we'll break down what he had to say, as well as Fred VanVleet speaking out on how he doesn't want a specific Kevin Durant trade to happen involving the Toronto Raptors. So he had some fun comments in his video with Serge, so we'll break that down, as well as a crazy OG Anunoby stat and some more Raptors injury updates to report on. So a bunch of stuff to break down. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news. And folks, we're almost at 26.5 thousand subscribers, so hopefully we can get that in the next couple days. So if you're enjoying all of the Raptors coverage we've been putting out in recent weeks, definitely hit that sub button. It means the world to us. But let's dive into the news. The first thing we're taking a look at is Scottie Barnes speaking out on being benched. Now, as said in the intro, Scottie and Gary were brought off the bench in the Raptors' win against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and a lot of people were kind of happy with at least the result of that game, how the lineups looked, how everything was shaken out, because guys like Juancho Hernan-Gomez and Thaddeus Young have been playing really, really well in recent weeks with all the injuries, the multitude of injuries this Raptors team has had. So people have liked that Nick Nurse rewarded those guys, keeping them in, high level in the rotation, and it ended up working out, at least in terms of the product on the court. We beat a really good team, but one person that didn't seem all that thrilled with the move was Scottie Barnes. It's reflected in his comments post-game. Now, before I give my analysis, before I give my take in terms of how Scottie Barnes really felt, I'm just going to play the clip of him post-game talking about being benched, and then we'll dive into it together.
How did it feel to come off the bench? I know you've done it a lot in college, so not that much in the NBA, but is it any different for you?
It was a little different, for sure. It was alright. I don't know. It was alright, I guess.
What's the difference for you?
I don't know. I'm used to being out there to start off the game, but I guess it was just a little adjustment. I guess it was just different. I guess.
Did it catch off guard?
No, I knew it was happening. It was just different.
You okay with it?
Yeah, it's whatever the scheme was, the game plan. It was fun.
So you can see from his comments, right? He didn't say anything bad. He didn't say anything that was, controversial or anything like that. He was pretty, saying, okay, it was the scheme, it was everything that's going on, but just from the tone of his voice, from his body language, from everything that was going on, and the interviewers are a little bit, I think Michael Grange, a couple of them asked some questions trying to get a wild quote. They didn't get that out of Scottie Barnes, but you could tell he didn't seem that thrilled with coming off the bench, at least from that take. And I'm not the only one who's been thinking this. Josh Lewinberg came out and essentially, restated some of the quotes that he brought up. That it was a little different for sure. It was all right, I guess. I don't know. Is he okay with it? Yeah, it was fine. But to paraphrase, he is not okay with it. And then for all the people that are saying that that's the wrong read, as we saw, we just watched the clip. It doesn't sound like someone who was psyched about his temporary move to the bench, which is fine, by the way. He shouldn't be happy about it. Get healthy, get more consistent, and then problem solved. So that's what Josh Lewinberg is saying about the whole situation, and I tend to agree with that take. It doesn't seem like Scottie Barnes is too psyched about coming off the bench with the decision that Nick Nurse made, and if it seems to be going forward, then it's something that should probably worry the Toronto Raptors. But in all honesty, I don't see another game where Scottie Barnes is coming off the bench. I think he's going to be a staple in the starting unit for years to come. I don't see him coming off the bench in the future. Now, one guy that I would be interested to hear his comments in terms of coming off the bench is Gary Trent Jr. Because, our star boy who played pretty solid in the most recent outing, has been struggling as of late, and there's been a lot of people calling for him to be moved to the bench role because that's the more natural fit. That's a more natural role for a lot of these, players that just score in bunches, that can knock down shots, that are, high volume bucket getters, the Jamal Crawfords, the Lou Williamses of the world, right? That style of player. And offensively, Gary Trent Jr. does fit that mold. However, defensively, he's a lot better than those guys, even though he hasn't been living up to his own expectations this season, but definitely looked better defensively his most recent outing. But I don't know. If there's a star that I expect to be coming off the bench more, likely it's going to be Gary Trent Jr. rather than Scottie Barnes. And Nick Nurse even gave it some insights in terms of the lineup changes right now, as he said that with a couple players coming back and a few more still trying to find their rhythm, Nurse wanted to spread those guys out between the two units, hence the likely temporary change in the starting unit. Nurse was happy with how Trent and Barnes played coming off the bench. Nurse was also non-committal about the starting lineup moving forward. He says he'll look at the matchups and go from there. So we'll see what ends up happening in the future in terms of these lineup changes, but don't expect Scottie Barnes to be coming off the bench for future games, and we'll see what ends up happening with Gary Trent Jr. And Scottie also had a nice comment in regards to Pascal Siakam following the game, saying that the things he brings to the game is just amazing to see. Watching Pascal play like that, just wow. Every move that he makes, the step backs, the spin moves, the double spin moves, it's great to have him back out there on the floor. So lots of praise for Pascal Siakam, and just so his post-game comments wasn't all doom and gloom, we could all be happy as Raptors fans, because that was a great game the Raptors played against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But the next thing we're diving into is Fred VanVleet making some headlines after he made an appearance on How Hungry Are You, and specifically a comment he made in regards to he doesn't want a specific Kevin Durant trade. Now, KD to the Raptors was the biggest rumor, was the biggest report this entire offseason. The Kevin Durant watch, we were covering it here on this channel, and with the Nets' early season struggles, it looked like it might pick back up some steam, but that team is just so inconsistent, so all over the place. It's tough to really get a read on what's going on down there in Brooklyn. But Serge Ibaka wasn't afraid to light back some of the rumors, light back some of the fires, just like he did with Giannis coming to the Raptors a few weeks ago. But he had Fred VanVleet on his How Hungry Are You podcast, and basically asked him, would you trade right now Scottie Barnes? If Masai came to you and asked to trade Scottie Barnes for Kevin Durant, would you do it? And Fred VanVleet, as expected, right? Gave his answer in terms of this report, and essentially said that he would turn down acquiring Kevin Durant if it meant trading Scottie Barnes. Essentially said that he's loyal to his young guy, Scottie Barnes, likes to have him on the roster, talked about his up-and-coming potential and, the leaps that he can make. Right, Scottie Barnes is that valuable of an asset, and I've made it known since the summer I would not trade Scottie Barnes in a Kevin Durant trade. But I saw a lot of people, especially non-Raptors fans, clowning Fred VanVleet for this take, because you look at the stats and, on paper in terms of the box score, makes sense. I mean, Scottie Barnes, you look at his stats for this season, 14 points per game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, still really, really good. And 1 block, 1 steal, filling up the stat sheet on 35% shooting from the 3-point line, 44% from the field. Scottie's been having assaults all year, and it feels like he's not even living up to his own expectations so far. The season has been dealing with injuries and stuff, but you compare that to what Kevin Durant is currently producing out there on the court, and it makes sense, right? Kevin Durant is almost double his points, 7 rebounds himself, 5 assists, 2 blocks a night, shooting 35. Interestingly enough, Scottie Barnes shooting a higher percentage from the 3-point line, but almost 10% better from the field in terms of efficiency. Kevin Durant, no debates, no questioning, is a way better player than Scottie Barnes right now, as of this moment. But you look at injury history, you look at health or injury history, you look at age, you look at the potential, you look at sort of the fit, the timelines in terms of the teams. I just wouldn't give up an asset like Scottie Barnes, even if he never becomes the player of Kevin Durant, right? It's too much of a risk. If you're not winning a championship in the next 2 years, that is the biggest fumble of a trade of all time. Now, I know KD has a bunch of years locked in on his deal and stuff, but I tend to agree with Fred VanVleet. You got to stay loyal to, it's not a rookie anymore, to the second-year up-and-coming star, the rookie of the year, right? He is a beast, and I wouldn't be making moves like that, even though Twitter be clowning Fred VanVleet for this take. Fred also had a fun comment basically saying that if Kawhi Leonard stayed, during that 2019 offseason, the Raptors would have three-peated. Now, I think Kawhi's injury history is just too unpredictable to say three-peat, 3 straight years going to the end of the championship. But I do guarantee, especially with the bubble happening and all that sort of stuff, the Raptors are absolutely dominating that Lakers team in the finals. We're winning an NBA championship in 2020. There's no doubts in my mind. That Lakers team, I know they won the championship. I know they were really good with LeBron, AD, Kuzma, their whole roster, Caruso. Not to take anything away from that Lakers championship win. They aren't nearly as good as that Warriors team, as that Bucks team, even that Philadelphia 76ers team that we ended up facing up against. Maybe the Golden State Warriors depleted, but they still had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, Boogie Cousins in those lineups. So I don't know. I think we are I agree with Fred VanVleet. We're definitely going back to back. And if Kawhi stays healthy, I'm still confident we're winning that year after. But there's a lot more unpredictable things that can happen in terms of the NBA for 3 years. But definitely, without a doubt, going back to back. So Fred had some fun comments. Definitely check out that episode of How Hungry Are You? But we have another something to break down, an insane OG Anunoby stat. Because OG Anunoby has been remarkable as of late. We've been praising him on every single chance we've gotten to on these pods, on these videos, and the stats are coming out. The love is being thrown OG Anunoby's way because you look at what he's been doing to superstars in recent weeks, and it's pretty remarkable. Like in OG Anunoby's last 5 games, Donovan Mitchell has gone 2 of 7 from the field, 28%. A guy that's averaging a 30-piece in Donovan Mitchell, that's a ridiculous number to keep him down to. Luka Doncic, 5 of 12. That's all at team defense as well, lots of double teams. But OG had the clamps on Luka. Kevin Durant, 2 of 6 from the field, 4 turnovers. I believe he only had 11 points in that game. DeJounte Murray, 1 of 5 from the field, 20%. Jimmy Butler, 1 of 4 from the field, 2 turnovers. Defensive Player of the Year type stuff. And man, like, there's a thing about players having off shooting nights, having a bad percentage out there for the field, which is definitely occurring with these stats. But not only that, these superstars are afraid to shoot over OG Anunoby. All those field goal attempts are like season lows for all of those players. And that's the level the Raptors defense have with OG Anunoby out there. And once we have our lineups back fully healthy, Nick Nurse can run through our contingent of guys, then the defense is only going to get better and better. OG can focus on locking in more and more. And if this guy's not in the Defensive Player of the Year run, if he's not in those defensive player ladders in the coming weeks, I am going to be furious. I'm going to be infuriated on this podcast, and I will make it known. So shout out to OG Anunoby for playing absolutely elite as of late, especially with all of the injuries we've been having. But the final thing we're discussing in this video is a Toronto Raptors injury update, as we have a few things to still break down, as we still have guys in and out of the lineup. But Precious Achiuwa, Otto Porter Jr. don't seem like they're coming back anytime soon, so nothing big on that front. But we did have Scottie Barnes saying that his ankle is fine. It was his knee that got banged up a few times a few games back, and that's the reason he was out. So that's that's what Scottie Barnes is saying. We made a whole video on Nick Nurse's cryptic comments in terms of Scottie Barnes' knee in a recent vid, but Scottie said it was his knee, so we'll keep you up to date on all that drama. Hopefully it's not anything serious going forward. Hopefully he's back healthy, because he did look a lot better last night, even though he was coming off the bench. And Fred VanVleet said he's making progress in terms of recovery from his illness he's been dealing with for a few weeks. Still not 100%, but feeling better every day. I'm getting there. My wind is building back. I'm clearing up some congestion, and I feel great compared to where I was. And honestly, I feel Fred VanVleet on this front. I've been sick for like the past 2 days. My voice has been a little bit better, but man, just trying to work out, trying to get everything going. It's tough. So I feel for all the Toronto Raptors that are trying to play actual NBA games and not a Newfoundland men's league like I'm trying to do podcasts and stuff, because it's tough. It's tough. You're dealing with illnesses. But folks, you guys are the best to make this far. As said, hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. You guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.